even before the French were here, though, this spot was a Native American market area. This was the highest ground in the city because it was right next to the Mississippi River, which flooded for thousands of years before people were here, deposited sediment on either side of the river that built up. So this is the highest land. So some kind of way the French and the Native Americans were able to communicate, and the Native Americans told them that this didn't flood. Somewhere in the translation, the word much got lost because it should have been, it doesn't flood much. But when it opened, they brought over the back bar from a Paris bistro where it had been out for 90 years. So that piece goes back to the 1700s. Lots and lots of history here. An argument can definitely be made, as you see in a print from our newspaper, that this is America's oldest neighborhood restaurant. This is most definitely the oldest stand-up bar in the United States of America. Never been any bar stools here. Lots of culinary history here. This was the original public square of the city of New Orleans, laid out right next to the Mississippi River for obvious reasons. This was the Place d'Armes. Looked a little bit different in the 1700s than it does today. This was a muddy military parade ground where they had public hangings and a few miserable people living who kept getting flooded every spring by the Mississippi River. So it has come a long way since then. It was renamed Jackson Square after Andrew Jackson, who was the hero of the Battle of New Orleans, which was the last battle of the War of 1812. The church that you see there is St. Louis Cathedral. It is the oldest continually operating cathedral in the United States. But it's the third one built on the original slab. The first one was blown down by a hurricane. The second one was destroyed in one of the two fires we had here. We had two big fires, one in 1788, one in 1794, that burned the whole quarter, everything but the Ursuline Convent, which is in fact the oldest building in the Mississippi River Valley. I wanted to show you this wall here. I mentioned that we had two fires here that destroyed everything that the French built. And you have already, what happened when you touched that brick? There you go. So when the Spanish came in, they were like, all right, you can't build anything out of wood. That's all fine and good to say that, but because most of the city is below sea level, we have no natural rock or stone. If you build a house here, you are dropping pilings on average between 70 and 100 feet before you hit anything, and then you are hitting compacted clay, like you never really hit anything really solid. And so when the Spanish said that, they had to start making buildings, constructed buildings out of brick. So, but the first bricks were made from river mud, very, very porous. It just comes off in your hands. And so most of the buildings that you see here are made out of brick and then stuccoed over or plastered over so that they don't fall apart. This is interior, and as long as I don't keep sticking my fingers in it, maybe it won't be so bad. But outside, the weather really does a number on it. Flags have flown over the state. These are the first three. The one that you see here is the Spanish flag. Spanish were really here first, but they were looking for silver and gold, which we have none because, again, of no natural rock or stone. So the Spanish were like, they're out of here. It's another 100 years really before the French came. So this is the first French flag. If you see here, it says the fleur-de-lis of Bourbon, France, which I like to point out. So many people think that Bourbon Street is named after the alcohol, when, oh no, it is named after the ruling family of France at the time, which was the Bourbon family. And then this is, of course, the first U.S. flag that flew here. So the word Creole comes from the Latin word Creolia, which means native born. It is not a term just used in New Orleans, but all over the Caribbean world and into South America as well. So if you were Creole, it means that you were born in the New World, but of Old World parentage. So you were born here, but your parents were from France or Spain or Africa. So that was the distinction. So Creole food is a combination of French food with a heavy African So that's Creole food. Who pays for Mardi Gras? Any idea who pays for that?
That's for the tourists.
Nope. No, they do.
The society pays for it. Each society pays for their floats and their throws.
Yeah, and that is exactly how it is here. So we do not assess a fee to tourists when they come here for Mardi Gras. Nor does the city pay for it, because the city of New Orleans is broke like every other American city. It is paid for by what we call, she said, an individual society, but it's called a crew, K-R-E-W-E. An individual crew, which is a social club. So just like you would belong to in college fraternity or sorority, or in your adult life to a quilting club or whatever you might want to belong to, and you pay some sort of dues for that club to function. That is exactly how the crews function here. Some of the crews have just 40 people, and they may not even parade. My daughter belongs to a crew of Midas, which is basically 30 of her friends. They dress up in gold, and they just walk ball, on Mardi Gras Day. That's their crew. End of story. Then you've got crews that are a couple of thousand people that drop $1,500 a year, kind of an average for fees, and then have to have some sort of board just to manage all of that. Some of the crews parade, and some of them do not. Not all crews parade.